Hi, it's Gerard Ball and Rob Hutton from the Help I Work in Home Building mini-series. Our focus here is setting you up for success in your home building career for 2025. And I just wanted to discuss something that Rob brought up in another previous episode. And Rob talked about the bounce. And Rob, what did you mean by the bounce?
Well, I just in looking at my teams and then kind of evaluating the type of leader I wanted to be. I've just thought of it in terms of those that can find a way to be up, energized, ready to go every morning. It's not that they come rolling in Monday mornings and it takes them three quarters of the day to wake up and get engaged. Tuesday, they're a little bit better. Wednesday, they're better. Thursday, a little bit better. Friday, they're really good because the weekend is coming. It's not that type of person. I need those that are excited to be in the company, excited to be helping people with the great American dream of home ownership, and it's no different in the UK and other parts of the world. So let us say the global quest of home ownership, and they're just delighted to be a part of the industry. They're grateful to have a great company, a culture to live that out. They're grateful to be dealing with people that are pros at what they do and fully committed to excellence, right? And doing it right, by the way, on the customer service side, which is the way it should be done anyhow. The home that you just built be acceptable to your mom or your grandma? Would you be pleased for them to live in it? If not, well, then you built a shitty home, and you got to go do better and make the customer more of the center of the bullseye. And so do it right. It's the right thing to do. It's the honorable thing to do. Build a good home, stand behind that home. And so anyhow, you're grateful to be a part of an industry like that. And so that reflects the way you come into the office, the way you go about your work. You spend little time milling around other people's desks or at the coffee maker, and you're much more inclined to hit the ground running. 0 to 60. As soon as you walk through that door, you're in it, and there are things that have to happen. Those are the people I wanted to lead. I wanted to exemplify that behavior, and so tried awfully hard to manage myself in order to make sure I was up and engaged. And I had a CEO that I once worked for who was that way. I never saw him have a bad day. And I always admired that. Like he was always up. Like he had a pleasing disposition, jovial, seemed to care about his people, but he was always up, always ready to attack, in it, fully in it. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's a great way to roll. And he was quite wealthy at that time. It was remarkable to me that he hadn't lost his drive.
Mhm.
He was still in it. So there is, I guess, the concept of bounce.
And Rob, as the RP, did you notice this? Obviously, you look for it in your division presidents and their vice presidents, but did you look out for this for everybody within the company?
Absolutely, the front desk matters. That person, their disposition, their attitude, their smile, that matters. Customer service, warranty reps, crucial for them since they're forward in the organization. They touch the customer. Anyone who touches the customer absolutely must be wired that way. Whether you're sales, which is expected, warranty, which is expected, construction, that's still expected because you're going to be touching, at least in my organization, you are going to be touching that customer. The customer had full freedom to come and talk with you. Now, some builders don't do that. They basically put the sales rep in between them, the customer, and the construction manager or superintendent,
Mm.
and make sure that the on-site agent kind of keeps them away from the job site. They may even have a policy. You're not allowed to go on the job site. I didn't want to lead that way. I thought that was a positively dumb idea and believed that it was important for the customer to be able to talk to their builder. And my superintendent was their builder. And I thought customer service was way higher. In fact, I know it was because I measured it carefully as a result of that. So I expect all of them that were forward facing. But then again, the most important was the senior team because, as we've discussed, people recruit after their kind. And so if I went into let's say, a division meeting where we were reviewing the financials and the performance of the division, there would be typically 10 to 20 or so people there. And that's the senior group. If somebody
Yeah.
there was negative, was off, was if I asked a question they didn't know, I was having a discussion with the division president after the review to say, this was good, that was good, that he's on the deal for sure. But she was uninspired. So what's the issue here? Because she
Mm.
cannot come into these meetings without ideas. She can't come in with energy. It was crucial that everyone in a position of leadership was reflective of that sort of energy. So yeah, I looked for it, and I didn't get much deeper into the organization unless I drove communities. If there was an on-site agent and he was flat, that'd be a topic of discussion with the VP of sales or the
Okay.
area sales manager. Hey, they're flat. They're the face of our organization. Somebody comes in, they have no idea anything about Lennar, Horton, whoever, except from them. So
Mm.
that attitude is not going to work. And so they may be having a bad day. Sit down with them, tell them they only have one bad day a year, and they just had it. So now it's not going to be tolerated. They have to be up and ready to go, or they should find something else to do. So this to me is just watching the talent because, as that old aphorism goes, companies don't make money. It's the people that make money. Money doesn't grow in the back of the office building on trees, which it was true. It doesn't happen, unfortunately. It's the people that make the money. It's the people that make the sales and deliver customer satisfaction, build a great home, find kick-ass land deals, get them developed and to market on time. It's the people that watch over the dollars that come into the organization to make sure that the dollars we generated are dollars that we keep. And we want to keep as much as we possibly can. That's part of our job. And so it goes.
Mm.
Everyone needs to be up and appreciative of what they have. And if they don't, maybe they've just burned out and just help them find another industry, but make it clear that they can't have that attitude and work here. We just don't tolerate it. So
Okay.
if there's something going on with your health, go see a doctor. Take a couple of days off. Something going on in your family, go get things right with your
Mm.
spouse or whatever. But you're paid to do a job, and part of that job is you being engaged, up, positive, not negative, and that is something that is very clear to customers. You give off, you're a motive of this negative or positive energy. So there you go. There's my
Okay.
sentiment on
All right.
this stuff.
Let's focus on that. Home building is at the top. Yeah, most levels. It's a pretty intensive job, and certainly at the top when you're an RP or a DP, the guys that I talk to, it really is a 24/7. I'm going to say it's a 363 job because you guys had Thanksgiving off. I couldn't get hold of anybody. Yeah, and no doubt you'll be having Christmas Day off as well. Like, I don't know what Scrooge would say about this, but it is a relentless pace. Somebody who's been at the top of the game for 35 plus years, from a physical side, Rob, what did you do to stay in shape and make sure that you've got the energy, the physical energy? What did you do personally?
I'm just a believer in, well, there's the word, it's routine, daily rituals. And these rituals, we all have them. It's just that some people wake up, have a cup of coffee, have a cigarette, have a pastry, a glass of orange juice, and then head to the office. Those are the people that are, pre-diabetic or diabetic and are undoubtedly dealing with cardiovascular disease or soon will be,
Mm.
because that's a terrible breakfast, a terrible way to start your day. It does not energize. You're going to go through a sugar crash in about 30 minutes and then need more candy, more pastries, more caffeine. And so you're just on this very slippery, destructive slope. And I don't think that's where a leader should be. So for the past, I don't know, maybe 40 years now, I have woken up like I did this morning. I have a blender and I put in cucumber and spinach and carrots and frozen blueberries, some water, and that's my breakfast. I'll have protein powder that I'll add to it, but I want 5, 6 servings of fruits and vegetables right there with my smoothie, and then 40 grams of protein, give or take, up to 60 grams of protein, and that's a good meal. I will have a cup of tea or 1 cup of coffee, but I just find that I don't need much caffeine. Then, I'll usually with that I'll head to the gym, and that has been in my home or it's been at a outside facility. But whatever it is, I'm going to go there 6 days a week. I take 1 day off, and I have done elliptical training, treadmill, arc trainers, which is actually my favorite piece of equipment, and I'll do some zone 2 training. And then I will a couple of times a week, 2, 3 times a week, do zone 5, which I'm getting up to 85 to 95% of max heart rate. Zone 2 is 60 to 80%. Some call 70 to 80 zone 3, but let's just say zone 2 and zone 5 training. And I do that along with weight training, circuit weight training, HIIT training. I do those things 6 days a week. And then I take 1 complete rest day off. Now, if I didn't sleep well, which, I've had 3 kids, and in the early days of trying to grow my career, we're also growing a family. And it was tough. There are some nights where you're only getting, the kids woke up, they're sick, they're running fever, whatever. You feel bad because you haven't slept well, and maybe you only got 4 or 5 hours of sleep that night. Job
Mm.
needs to be done. The shareholders don't care if you had a bad day or not. They pay you to go execute on their behalf. That's what they do. They can't be there to manage the operation, so they've hired you to manage in their stead. And all they care about is return on rent on the dollars that they've invested, meaning I'm going to buy shares in your company and I want you to give me a return on those shares. And the only way to do that I've ever seen is consistently grow EPS, earnings per share, because as EPS climbs, so does the share price over time. Not perfectly correlated by the day or week, but over time, months, quarters, then the EPS and share price growth are amazingly synced up. So
Mm.
they want you to be up. They want you to be all over your game. And how do you do that? Eat right, lean proteins, watch your carbs. Good carbs are great. Bad
Mm.
carbs are destructive, and that's a negative ritual for you. Everybody knows what the bad carbs are. Just do an AI search. You'll get, 50 things that you should be staying away from. Maybe soft drinks and processed snacks at the top of the list with sugar, lots of sugar. So
Yep.
those things will kill you over time, and they will not lend themselves to energy and you being up and setting the pace for your entire team. You're out in front, kind of beckoning the rest of your team. Come on, follow me.
Mm.
Do it the way I'm doing
Out of
it.
interest, Rob, what was it? I may have missed it just at the beginning, but what time were you up typically?
Well, with the kids, sometimes forced alarm at 4 or 5 in the morning, but typically 6 a.m. is when I was up,
Right. Okay.
and then a smoothie was already pre-made, ready to go. I could get to the gym. My workouts are not long, 30, 40 minutes at most.
Yeah.
That's all I had time for, and then get to the office
Mm.
from there. So you change your clothes, or maybe there is a gym at your office. But if not, certainly you could change at the gym and then be
Mm.
locked and loaded, ready to go.
And typically as an RP, when did your day finish? In a normal
We
week, I
had,
appreciate there's cycles, but
yeah, we would often have calls that were late in the afternoons with the senior leadership team at the corporate office and the regional presidents. During COVID, for example, we had calls every day, and they would start at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and go to 6, 7. I recall having one call at 10 o'clock and that going till I think 1:32 in the morning. So the engagement is really 24/7. In my career, you may find this to be incredulous, but I only had 1 week where I was on a vacation and I had no connectivity. I was out on a cruise ship, which I'll never do again, in the middle of nowhere, and there was no Wi Fi. So I wasn't in touch. Every other time that I've had a vacation or I've been away from the office for some reason, family vacations, whatever, ski trips, I was on. And I do recall getting calls from either the CEO or the chairman. On one occasion, Mr. Horton asked, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm up at about 11,000 feet skiing, but I'm ready to answer whatever it is that you have and help you however I can help you." No, I'll call back. No, this is what I do. So if you need something, I'm going to get it. You hear, and perhaps you and I have talked about this, but there is a psyche that's beginning to kind of move into the Gen Z and millennial talent that's coming up, especially the Gen Zs I've found. And that is, I'm not going to answer any phone calls or texts or emails after 5:30 or 6 p.m. because I want to set boundaries with my boss. If he needs something and I respond at 7 or 8 p.m., well, then he's going to think he can always do that. And I want there to be a boundary. So I'm not going to answer. No phone calls, no responses to emails or texts. And I'll teach him. That, to me, is a superb way to never get pushed up and to be frustrated in one's career. You want to lead and have that attitude, it'll never happen because nobody cares. The guy above you, he doesn't care what you're doing. You're his regional president and he needs something. He wouldn't be calling otherwise. I would rarely tell him where I was unless he asked. So I could be at the office, I could be at the house, I could be, on vacation, I could be at the gym. I step out. I could be at a kids event. Many
Yeah.
times at a football or basketball game, call came in from the CEO, the chairman, when I wasn't a regional, from the regional. I stepped away and I took that phone call. There, not in 30 years did I ever, except one time when I was out at sea in the middle of nowhere and should not have and will never do that again. Still feel guilty over it. But that's a mindset now, Gerard. And
Yeah.
I see it beginning to creep in, the opposite of it, creeping in to the young talent that's coming up. They've got to change their ways. If they want to lead, if they want to run something, if they want to be known as a rock star, they're dialed in 24/7, 365. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, if the guy above you, the lady above you needs something, you give it to them happily. You're highly paid in leadership. It's part of your job. And if you don't want that, go find something else to do that's less stressful. Anyhow,
Let's talk about the stress because it's a stressful job. Yeah. Lots of ups and downs. There's a roller coaster within home building. The big land deal comes off great, it crashes, all the hard work's destroyed, etc. Dealing with that mental pressure. Yeah, how did you cope with the mental pressure of home building, the psychological side?
well, so I happen to think that let us say cardiovascular fitness and stress reduction and just having a clear mind go hand in hand. So I could never separate those. If I had a big meeting that would come up or I was going to speak at a national event, that was the first thing I did to clear my head, to wake up my mitochondria, which is essentially where energy comes from. They're the powerhouses of each cell. We have billions of them in our bodies. When you exercise, you wake them up, especially if it's aerobic in nature. You wake those powerhouses of the cells up. Lo and behold, after 30, 40 minutes, if you were groggy because of, kids being sick or, for whatever reason, there was a function the night before during the week, And yet that was on a Wednesday night. You might have had a glass of wine. Tannins messed with me. I always had a headache the next morning. Never been drunk in my life, but that's just how wine affects me. Go to the gym. The next morning, the key to your energy for the day is found right there. So that's number one. Number two, I've just been an avid reader, and I'm looking for ideas outside of the industry. So, Jack Welch and manufacturing of jet engines and CT machines and you name it. That is a completely different industry for mine, but I studied them for years, especially when Welch is around. Following what Elon Musk does, what Steve Jobs did, that was fascinating. And there were so many things that would come up in biographies, let us say, about great leaders in varying industries that you could pick up on. Heck, I remember reading a book by a gentleman who ran a sports agency. Mac McCormick was his name, and he wrote a couple of books. I found his world of sports management and dealing with his people that were in turn dealing with superstars. I found that whole thing to be really portable to what I was doing in home building. So, you can find it in all kinds of different things. Perhaps today people are more inclined than reading to listen to podcasts. No matter. It's ideas. It's being able to jump into somebody's brain, open their brain up, jump into it, and see the world through their eyes. That's so fascinating to me. And there's so many things then that would be portable to what you're doing. This is one of the reasons why twice a year I had my senior team and their top two or three people. So my division president and say two or three, maybe the land person, maybe their CFO or land person and VP of sales, to come to a conference twice a year. And day one was about hard and soft targets. Day two was about a book. And I would give them a book like, Measure What Matters by John Doerr, or Grit by Angela Duckworth, whatever. There were, in 10 years, there were 20 books that we went through. And each division had to take 2 or 3 chapters and report on those chapters for the rest of the team that was there, typically 50, 60 people. I think we got fabulous ideas virtually every time we met together. There was one idea, as you said, just one idea that would come from it. And this is the stuff that moves battleships forward. It helps organizationally. It helps with strategy. It helps with execution, whatever. It helps with simplifying all the objectives. You could pursue the goals and narrowing them down to just 2 or 3 that are crucial in advancing the organization.
And there you have it. There's a man for 35 who had more bounce than possibly anybody that I know, Rob. There it is. There is the recipe for it. There's nothing more to add. So, if you take anything from that, then, I'm sure that your career will go to the top in 2025. And once again, Rob, thank you very, very much. We'll see you all again soon. Take care.